Oh, yeah, yeah. Or at least.
This right here is called a floor mandrel. That's how I created this whole ring here.
So that's how you make the ring.
Yep. Yeah, because the horn on this anvil here is not big enough to do something like this, of course. So with flat stock like this, it's actually really hard to bend that around because it's not like a square stock where you're just shaping it. You've got to keep this level flat.
Okay.
So it's a really long process. I started this at 10 o'clock and I've just now got the ring done, mind you.
Oh my.
But you'll just bend it around and it'll look terrible when you flatten it back out, and you really get, I mean, inch by inch, you're curving this around. It takes forever.
Wow.
But we've got a ring now. Grab the wire brush, wherever it may be. The
Now, I
first
guess
group
they
are
make the
farriers.
horseshoes and...
Now they're the ones, of course, who are making the horseshoes. They were also making nails, oxen shoes, wagon wheels, all right, stuff like that. Now with farrier work, I do kind of like to lead with farrier work today.
Okay.
Being a farrier nowadays is really one of the only careers in blacksmithing left. I mean, you can still make a living doing what I'm doing here, but as a farrier, you're guaranteed a good salary somewhere. Here in West Virginia, we don't have a whole lot of horses, but farriers are still bringing in about $20,000 to $30,000 a year here part-time. Okay, and part-time is usually for them on average about 10 hours a week. Okay, that's not bad money, especially not around here as a part-time job. Now you get down to Kentucky with the race horses though. Okay, you're doing that full-time, they're bringing anywhere from $200,000 to $300,000 a year.
Wow.
All right, so farrier work pays well. Now I start with that because as we travel back to 1774, being a farrier was not even considered a skilled labor job. It paid next to nothing at all. It was one of the first things you'd have learned during your apprenticeship. And your payment for that work would have really just covered the materials you used, and your real payment was learning how to make trade and work with customers. All right, so back in cities,
Is there still a lot of people in that trade? I mean, or is it really getting thin?
It was getting thin for a while. Now I've only been in this about a year and a half, but I do know there was very few people getting into it. But have you ever seen the show Forged in Fire?
Yes.
Okay, that's kind of brought a lot of talk back to it. A lot of people wanting to learn how to do it. I think one thing that a lot of people are finding is they don't have the patience for it. I barely have the patience for it somehow. I mean, I spent an hour and a half making a circle, right? So it's something you just got to get used to. But it has brought a lot of talk back. Now here in West Virginia, we have a lot of blacksmiths actually.
Oh, okay.
Around here, anvils and tools are pretty cheap to get a hold of. There's a lot of people who can teach you and talk to you. I mean, when I started this job here, I did not know how to blacksmith. My first day on the job, I learned how to make a hook, and that was kind of it for the summer. I was just learning new things all the time. But yeah, around here there's a lot of blacksmiths because just about every little farm here had a little blacksmith shop. So everybody's getting up to stuff like this here. You guys know what this is? Out west though,
No.
that is a bread toaster.
That's a...
Yeah, that's an 18th century bread toaster. You put your bread down in here. This top end would spin, so you use a fire poker to turn this. And right here in the back there's a small hook. You hook in there with the fire poker, pull it back. Yep, so that's how you get your toast.
Oh my God.
Here's a camp grill I made the other day. Candle holders, all sorts of stuff. All right, they were basically the tool makers. All the
Nails.
stuff you see there on the table was made here.
They even had to make their own nails and all.
Yep, you know how to make their own nails. Nails are actually a pretty big talking point. You see here these square head nails. A blacksmith shop back in a city that had access to metal next door, you know, didn't have to travel for it, had some apprentices, could make about 40 to 60 nails an hour.
Wow.
Okay, that's not that many nails when you think about it, and they're working pretty hard on that. And the worst thing with these nails are, especially in humid climates, these things aren't made out of some sort of crazy steel or anything. They're just iron, usually wrought iron for that matter.
Okay.
So they rust away. So even though people need nails to build their new houses, in a humid climate, you know, every 8, 9, 10 years, you might have to replace the nails in your house.
Oh, wow.
That's why you saw a lot of this wood peg construction, like up here.
Yeah.
These beams, you would have seen a lot of that. Nails are really a commodity.
In the old barns and stuff, you really see the pegs.
Yeah, I mean, those nails they were hard to get a hold of. New England, in certain areas, they had to pass a lot of historical stuff we've seen. That it's possible people were also burning down their houses when they moved. So if somebody was moving out on the frontier, they, before selling the property or anything, if they even did that, they would have just burnt down the house, take the nails, all the metal back out of it, and traveled with it.
Oh my God.
Well,
on the frontier, you wouldn't have seen much metal work. And like up in the fort, have you guys been up in there yet?
no.
Okay, when you go in there, you'll notice most of the door hinges and stuff are just wood hinges. They are made out of wood. They're wood pick hinges. Really interesting. So make sure you look at them. There's about probably 100 different designs of doors and hinges in there to look at when you go around.
That's kind of like that, the doors on that house.
Kinda, yeah.
I didn't really see any nails, so I guess he didn't use nails.
Well, for the most part, with that being brick construction, of course, you didn't really need them. And that house is amazing. I don't know how he built that. It blows my mind that thing is in the state it's in and has been here since the 60s.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal for a guy. I mean, if you just think about it logistically, he was just a farmer. He wasn't a carpenter. He wasn't a bricklayer. He wasn't a stonemason. He was just a farmer out here, and he built a beautiful home.
I wonder where he brought the bricks in from.
He made
Oh, he made them?
Yeah, he had a brick mold that made 3 bricks at a time.
Wow.
It's actually up in the museum. All the brothers that came in together and bought brick molds. They bought about, I think, 9 brick molds, but they didn't share them. So they were making this house, 3, maybe occasionally they came over with them. He'd be making 12 at a time, but not very much. You get on here, get the clay out of the creek, come up here and make his bricks. So that's why it took him almost 14 years to finish it. The poor guy.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, 14 years, yeah.
Now, the third type of blacksmith was a gunsmith. Now, gunsmiths are the most skilled and most sought-after types of blacksmith. They weren't just sought after because everybody needed a rifle or musket that worked. They were also sought after because there wasn't a whole lot of them over here in the colonies. All right, to become a gunsmith, you first had to entirely master this portion of blacksmithing, just about. All right, because if you're making a rifle at this point in time, especially over here in the colonies, you were hand forging every part of it. The barrel, the trigger, everything was handmade with a hammer and an anvil. Okay, that was a lot of work. But the issue comes when you go to master blacksmithing. If you're the only blacksmith in your town, which for the majority of blacksmiths they were, they couldn't just stop and learn gunsmithing. Because who's going to repair these people's tools? Who's going to make them new tools and nails and knives? So there weren't very many people who got even the opportunity to learn them. And when you did find a gunsmith, he was probably quite busy. On average, it took about 400 working hours to make a basic rifle. Okay, so to put a little bit more perspective on that, if that gunsmith had worked 14 hours a day with 0 days off, he could finish one in just under 34 days.
Ain't that something?
Yeah, and that's just an example though, all right, because we're not counting Sundays off. We're not counting the fact he's a farmer still, so he's got crops to tend to. If it's harvest or planting season, he's going to be even busier. He's got a family to tend to, tools break, you have to travel to get metal because there's not same-day delivery quite yet. So stuff like that could take a while. It really could take 2-3 months just for a very basic rifle.
That's just
This world
amazing.
would fall apart today if they had to do it.
And now this is rifles we are talking about. Do you guys know the difference between a rifle and a musket? At all? Any clue? Alright, so a rifle looks the same, feels the same, but the inside of its barrel has rifling in it.
Oh,
There are rifling bits
yeah.
in the fort you can look at. And that, of course, is the grooves cut inside the barrel. So when you fire a musket, it's just smooth bore, like household plumbing, okay? When you shoot this ball out, it's going to bounce around, and it's going to go just about anywhere other than where you aim.
Right.
That's why you'd have seen a lot of that warfare was them lining up across each other and shooting. It wasn't this honor or pride thing. For the most part, it was because those guns could not hit what they were aiming at. All right, just about after 30 yards, you weren't going to hit anything. Also, muskets, due to this, fired a lot larger caliber, so they had a little bit bigger chance of hitting something, and also to do more damage. For the most part, muskets, especially the British musket, British Brown Bess, you'll see one up in the fort. Those were really designed for taking out horses in warfare, not for fighting off men.
Oh.
Okay. Now the issue with that is we're hunting over here. In Europe, they don't need to hunt. They've got farms and everything else set up. But over here, we need to hunt to survive. You can't go hunting squirrels or raccoons with something that's designed to take out a horse, right? So we needed that accuracy that rifling gave us. We also needed, though, the fact that they could fire much smaller calibers. Okay. In fact, I believe it was a 32 caliber rifle at the time. It was called a squirrel gun. Okay, so over here in the colonies, our gunsmiths are making it right. I was just doing a little bit of tightening up on it. I'm not going to try to make this weld here super pretty because I'm probably actually going to punch a hole through it and use that as my rivet location. And when I do that, I can kind of cover up that weld. because the more I hammer on it, the more chances I have of messing up the weld, you know.
Okay.
So as long as these two are stuck together, I'm happy. And with a rivet here, or trivet here, pardon me, you shouldn't be prying the thing apart anyways. It's made to hold the stove, so
Right.
let's hope it holds up.